Commander, you've rained on my glorious parade. For this, I'm sending everything I've got at you. But I won't let you have the satisfaction of catching me. I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to this very special Labor Day episode of FTL Radio. I'm your host, Chris, and with me on the line is Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing very well. This is our 6th episode. That means we are 6 weeks into doing this, and we're still going strong.
Yeah, I think, we might actually have some listeners who, I could be totally wrong about that, but, it's kind of cool. And if nothing else, it gives us a chance to talk about science fiction and geek out for an hour a day.
Well, absolutely. It's a fun project at the very, very least, and it gets us exposed to all sorts of things I don't think we normally would have been exposed to.
Yeah, that's true.
For example...
let's see. Oh, so SyFy channel, on my continued effort to prove to you that it's more than just Sharknado. They,
That remains to be seen.
Well, yeah. So they released the first photo, or photos, or maybe just a photo, of their upcoming space drama, Killjoys. This is going to be an original space series. And in this, there are the three main characters, which looks pretty cool. Two of the three are holding big-ass assault battle rifle-looking guns, so that's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, I did a little bit of a read-up on this, and it sounds pretty interesting. It's going to be basically the story of these three bounty hunters, which are called Killjoys. They're chasing down all these deadly warrens throughout this solar system, or this system that they're in called the Quad. And the Quad is in the brink of a class war.
Oh, sounds familiar.
And they're here... Yeah, right? And they're here trying to stay neutral. So it has three individual characters that come to the table. You have one that hates conflict, cheerily, kind-hearted person.
Wait. Hates conflict, and he's a bounty hunter?
Well, that's what's going to be interesting about it, is that he's going to be the voice against the rest, I guess, in this story. So you have, the guy who's against conflict, and then you have this mysterious flirty chick who, has sort of a dark past and is trying to earn people's trust, and then you have the rugged, sarcastic, handsome one. So it sounds like it's going to be a real character-driven, witty, banter-esque show set in this sci-fi universe.
Yeah, it seems interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it because, it's not your typical theme of big empire versus big empire kind of stuff, and it's not your big theme of, what am I trying to say? It's a little different. The theme is a little different. I like the bounty hunter kind of feel for it.
Well, yeah, and you know what it reminds me of a little bit, because you're right. It's not this big giant space war thing. It kind of reminds me a little bit about Firefly.
Yeah.
This following a small crew of great characters through their adventures in this system or the galaxy or whatever. It should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know when it's coming out.
Yeah, this is really still early on. They just released the first photo of it. But the two things I did find out, they're by the creator of Lost Girl, which is not a show I've ever really seen. But the producers are the producers of Orphan Black, which I've heard of. I've heard fantastic things about that show.
Yeah, I think I saw like an episode and a half of Orphan Black, and I was pretty hooked. It's good.
Yeah, I've never seen an episode of the show, but I'm real big into post-production and special effects and stuff like that. So I watched the VFX breakdown. If you don't know the story of the show, it's basically about a woman who finds out that there are a bunch of other clones of her. And so she virtually plays every character in the show, or every main character in the show. So every scene is a cloning scene. It has to be a clean plate with... Or even if there is a camera move, it has to be done on a robotic machine so that you get the exact same camera move every time, so you get the exact same... It's a nerding out VFX wise here, but it was really cool to watch their breakdowns.
Yeah, no, like I said, I saw a little bit of it. It was definitely very cool. But yeah, based on what I've just what I just looked up, Killjoys, it's going to be 10 episodes.
Okay.
It's going to premiere in 2015.
All right.
So it should
not too far.
No,
off.
it should be good. It'll be good primarily because SyFy needs to have science fiction. I'm sorry. It needs
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah, those campy Sharknado Sharktopus movies are, I mean, you can call them science fiction because I guess technically they are, but really they're just gags.
right, and people want to see space shows, and I mean, Star Trek doesn't have a show anymore. Battlestar doesn't have a show anymore.
I wonder if we're going to see a resurgence of a Star Trek TV show now with all the buzz coming out about it again.
I don't know. I saw a conversation on a forum a couple days ago where someone asked, what movie would you like to see made into a TV show? But Star Trek went from I think TV to movie, and then back to TV and then back to movie. So it would be interesting to see that Star Trek go back to TV. But I think there's going to be some this SyFy is doing this show. I mean, a couple weeks ago we talked about another space show. I think they're doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think. I do think SyFy's going to try and get back into that stuff, and if they could find success with it, I guarantee we'll see Fox or ABC or TNT. I mean, TNT kind of already is with Falling Skies. It doesn't,
Yeah, I bet.
It doesn't take place in space, but there are aliens who have ships in space that come to Earth and fuck things up.
And that's the thing, is that geek nerd culture, whatever, is in right now. It's something that people are interested in and paying attention to, and as we've seen from the Avengers movies and the everything Marvel has put out, Marvel Disney, character-driven stories work well. And if they can get this same character-driven formula and say, hey, look, it's in space, check out all this awesome stuff that happens around the character-driven story, then it's good stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right about that. It should be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I obviously am a fan of it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving right along, we have, I guess Marvel is bringing back Star Wars comics, which I guess makes a lot of sense now that they're all the same company.
It's bullshit to say bringing back. Dark Horse has done a brilliant job with Star Wars comics. I mean, I saw some of the original Marvel Star Wars comics, and they weren't that good. I mean, maybe I'm, going to get bashed for saying that, but they really weren't that good. And when Dark Horse took over, Dark Horse really took it, and they ran with it. I mean, that was one of their primary brands, and they ran with it. And now you've got Disney coming along and saying everything that was the expanded universe doesn't exist. And I'm like,
yeah, that's a good point. Is that Disney's kind of just coming in with like a flourish pen saying, whoosh, 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 no, it's nothing else, that nothing you did matters.
Yeah, and so I mean, I guess what they are doing here is they're going to be reissuing some of those Dark Horse comics. So saying, okay, this is part of the expanded universe, but this isn't part of the expanded universe, but this is. Which I guess is cool, and
I'm confused. Is it or is it?
Well, that's
not?
the thing, I guess what they're going to do is they're going to pick and choose,
Okay.
I mean, really, I'm fine with that to an extent. You want to pick and choose, fine. Pick and choose anything that's 40 years before the movies and anything after the movies. I'm fine with that. But anything in the the Old Republic era, don't even touch it. You're not going to do anything with it.
Yeah, well, you know what? You never know. They did a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
But they're not going to do anything with it. What are they going to do? A Bane movie? No.
I don't know.
There's so much shit left with, with Boba Fett origin story and Han Solo origin story and the trilogy. And, well, why don't we do an origin story of another cool little Jedi?
Well, they might not do a movie, but that doesn't mean they're not going to use the Old Republic for something else. They might do, live-action TV show Star Wars has always been something that people have talked about. There's a possibility that you can take that story and put it in the Old Republic.
Yeah, but if you look at what, Disney's doing is they're sticking with their animated shit for TV and using the big screen for their live-action.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar to, I guess similar to, but maybe different from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a live-action tie-in with their Marvel property, their Marvel
Right,
movies.
so what are they going to use? They're going to use, a character who gains, notoriety in the movies that isn't one of the main characters that's going to be around the Empire time. So it'll be another, the Empire is what everyone knows. That's the stuff people know. So that's the stuff that they're going to use. Only a subset of the uber nerds or uber geeks, whatever you want to call them, will give a shit about the Old Republic.
I don't know. I think you underestimate the popularity of Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2 and you know, the Old Republic
Right. So then
video
so then
game
why touch
wasn't
it?
very good. Why touch it? Because it could be a cash cow.
No, I know.
You know
No,
Disney.
It could be a cash cow, but there's no.
Oh, you're saying why touch it and like why go back and retcon it and say no, that's
Right.
different.
Exactly.
Or, like,
Just
that's not
build on it.
Oh, yeah, I think they probably will wind up doing that.
I mean, the benefit to the Old Republic is there's so many tens of thousands of years, or 1,000 years or whatever, however many years of untold stories, and that's what's cool. I mean, you could tell so many stories there. If you want to do it, great. Do a story about after the Sith Empires beat in the Old Republic, or yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, when that's time's done, do that. But don't say, you know what, this video game, yeah, it's not canon.
Yeah, I don't think they would go back and do that, especially with the Old Republic stuff. I agree with you on that.
So I mean, one of the things, and this gives me a little bit of hope, Daniel Gabriel, he's a senior vice president of sales and marketing for Marvel, said that these new comics are going to be bouncing around to different periods of Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
So obviously we're going to get some, Old Republic stuff, but I don't know. I don't really know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because certainly comic books are a lot cheaper to produce than a full-length motion picture, so they can tell a lot more of the story through those and through novelization. And with Disney and Marvel all in control of that kind of stuff now, we'll see if there's more continuity, I guess, in terms of what they're going to say is canon and what is not canon. I guess they're going to be doing a lot of picking and choosing.
Yeah. I mean, Luke...
Which could get very confusing for the uber nerds who know everything. I mean, I can't say I'm among them. I'm a very big Star Wars fan, but expanding universe is not my forte.
Yeah, I've read so many of the comics and read so many of the books that, I mean, I never... I mean, my thing is I never read the books that take place right around the Empire. Like the Grand Admiral... what is his name? The big blue dude.
Oh, God, Akbar. No. Admiral Akbar?
That's embarrassing that you said Akbar is blue.
No, he's not blue. Oh, fuck, you're right.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm not.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big blue dude.
Okay.
And he was introduced in Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. And this was first written in 1991. So obviously that's not going to happen. Those books take place 5 years after Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And Thrawn, he assumes command of the remaining forces of the Empire.
Okay.
So that's cool, but that's not going to happen.
Well, now I wonder what they're going to do about Kyle Katarn. Do you know anything about him?
Wasn't he Luke Skywalker's apprentice who nearly destroyed a planet or something?
He was the main character of the Jedi Knight series of video games, which was one of the most fun Star Wars games I've ever played. 1 and 2 were great. The third one is less so, but anyway, he's he's someone who was not born with Force sensitivity. He sort of has a similar story of Luke Skywalker in that he comes into his own, discovers that his family has Force sensitivity in it, and he's this Jedi, and he winds up defeating Sith, and eventually he does become Luke Skywalker's apprentice once, the Jedi Order is reestablished.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I wonder what they're going to do with him, because he was a popular character in the video games.
He probably is not going to exist.
Yeah, maybe not. It's possible.
Or, maybe they find a way to make him exist. But yeah, I just,
I wonder if they're going to cast him for the movies, because this is sort of the time frame that he's going to... they're not going to do that. I already know they're not going to do that, but the little... Because I did play the crap out of those games, and it would be cool to just see even a nod or a wink to him would be cool.
Well, maybe we'll see it, It could be... that's the thing, and that's how these, like a TV show, like you said, right? That's the kind of character that would get a TV show.
Yeah.
Maybe
you just made me so happy to think of something like that.
I mean, think about it. Maybe Luke Skywalker says, all right, Kyle, go ahead and do that. Boom, done, Or they could really do it just as cheesy as they did in goddamn Avengers, where, what's his face, Agent Blank dies.
Coulson.
Agent Coulson dies, and then like the previews for Agents of Shield is, oh, what, you thought I was dead? Like, really?
Yeah, it was a bit of a stretch.
So anyway, I mean, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I love me some comics. I love me some Star Wars. It's going to be interesting to see where they take the story, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So to change topics to something that's a bit more here. I was doing just kind of some running around and researching and things like that, and I guess this book was published back in 2012. But I guess the mass market, the paper book, is coming out next month.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really sure why it took them this long to get the paper book out. I mean, it's 2 years.
I don't know.
Yeah, so the mass market paperback's coming out in September, which, by the way, there's really no reason to make mass market paperbacks anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
by demand is probably the cheapest way to do it, or the most cost-effective. At
no,
least.
the most cost-effective way to do it is via ebook. So if you want to release the book, release it hardcover. That's fine, but then you have the Kindle version for the cheaper. Having the mass market paperback doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I'm a book guy. I can't read books on a
Then
tablet.
read the hardcover.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get any hardcover on Amazon for this book is on Amazon right now for $11. Hardcover.
But wouldn't it be just cheap? Wouldn't it be just cheaper to not do hardcover and just do paperback?
Yeah, but then you're just making more books.
Yes, you are. Isn't that the point?
Nah, I mean, if you could make, I'd rather have different kind of books than, I mean, look, the mass market was created. The mass market paperback was created to decrease the cost of books so more people could read. Now you've decreased the price of books to nothing.
More or less, yeah, with the Kindle and ebooks and whatnot.
And that is the lowest barrier of entry. And yet, I'm looking at the pricing for these books right now, and I'm not going to, I don't want to get on a tirade about this for any longer than I am right now, but for the Kindle, to read this book, $12.74.
Really?
Yeah, the hardcover to read this book, $11.20.
So it's cheaper to buy the hardcover?
Right, and then the mass market paperback is $8.09. Like, really? Wow. And then people wonder why Amazon's going to war with that book publisher Hachette, because publishers are gouging their customers. They are stabbing them with knives repeatedly and saying, pay us, pay us, pay us, pay us, pay us. So anyway, I only say that because I'm writing a novel and I'm going to self-publish it and, whatever. Anyway.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know too much about that business all in all, but it does scratch your head a little bit that the hardcover would be cheaper than the Kindle edition.
Yeah. So anyway, so this book, and basically it's something about what's close to home is a lot of science fiction takes place far away from home, as in thousands of years from now, hundreds of years from now. This takes place whenever. It could be tomorrow.
Yeah. Could be now.
Yeah, it could. And basically, oil runs out, or really, we destroy our ability to use oil.
Yeah, that would put us in a bit of a pickle now, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And basically because authors love to use Russia as the bad guy. Russia has oil and natural gas still and has a stranglehold on the world economy. So along comes this big asteroid, and we decide that we're going to launch solar power satellites, which are mass-produced in orbit with the resources that are mined from the new asteroid, to then take lots of those resources to the ground.
Planet cracking.
Yeah, so basically they're going to use the asteroid to power the Earth.
Okay.
And look, it's obviously an interesting idea. Google's doing this. Kinda.
Yeah, I feel like that's really science fiction-y stuff to be talking about planet cracking and stuff like that, but considering the, energy and resource shortage that we're no doubt going to be experiencing in the near future, it's relevant stuff.
Yeah, but back in April 2012, CBS News published an article about with the headline, "Asteroid Mining Venture backed by James Cameron and Google CEO Larry Page.
Okay.
And basically, this paragraph says, the Mega Million Dollar plan is to use commercially built robotic ships to squeeze rocket fuel and valuable minerals like platinum and gold out of the lifeless rocks that routinely whiz by Earth. One of the company founders predict they could have their version of a space-based gas station up and running by 2020.
Wow, by 2020?
Yeah, I mean, they also said the inaugural step to be achieved in the next 18 to 24 months would be a launch in the first in a series of private telescopes that would search for rich asteroid targets. I haven't heard anything about that yet.
But that doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
That's still exciting stuff, though. That's cool to be thinking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that's real cool. But I mean,
but is that the plot of this book? I mean, that sounds like a setting that the world is out of resources and they're living in a society now where they're having to harvest from resources or from asteroids.
Yeah, so it's what it is, you know, obviously Russia doesn't want this to happen.
Okay. That's because they still have the stranglehold on the gas.
Right. Obviously, technophobes don't want this to happen.
Okay.
Because they're afraid of technology. Obviously, eco-extremists don't want this to happen because I don't even know why.
Yeah, I was gonna say why. It's like it's solar powered things that extract shit from things you never see.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, so I mean, look, it's kind of cool, but I don't know if I'm going to read it or not. I've got so much to read anyway. But you know, if this hard science fiction kind of stuff, you know, appeals to you, and you know you're thinking about something to read at the end of September, this comes out September 30th. It's on Amazon right now for $8. You can pre-order it. You know, I mean, and it should prove to be pretty good, I guess.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that there's more to it than just this is the situation. There's a whole story to the book, and I'm actually curious to hear what that story is and how it sort of delves, you know, because you can this is a macro story that you're telling me. I'm curious about how it gets down to characters and how they interact with and react to what's going on.
Yeah, based on some of the comments I'm reading about this, unless you like hard science fiction, this might not be your cup of tea because it's kind of like reading an engineering book, I think.
Okay.
Is what one person said. So, I think it might be. I don't know. It could be.
Well, it doesn't sound like it has mass market appeal, but it definitely. I mean, you know, there's an audience out there for everything. I'm sure that's got and the fact that it you know was out for so many years and is finally getting its chance at paperback. Oh, maybe there's something to it.
Well, yeah, you know, once again, the author would have a better chance if the Kindle price wasn't $12. But anyway.
Anyway, moving right along
to planetary impacts.
Yeah, right. Speaking of asteroids, this is a cool story. This, I mean, similar to reading the story last week about the suspended animation. This is something that happened 2 weeks ago, possibly. I mean, that's really cool. So if you haven't heard about this,
no, actually, let me just correct you about that.
Okay,
it happened.
Oh, 2 years ago. Sorry.
I think I still would question. Although, you know, I could be wrong, but it depends. Go ahead and talk about it, and then tell me.
Okay, well, anyway, so what happened was the people of the University of Arizona in Tucson discovered that there were a massive planetary collision 1,140 light years away in a distant solar system well outside of ours, and basically this is the first planetary impact that we have ever witnessed, and they know that it happened within a 2-year time frame because they say it happened about 2 years ago because they were doing periodic checks. Mm-hmm. And so every 18 months or so they were checking to see what was happening with this planetary cluster or whatever up 1,140 light years away, and they discovered that there was just tons of dust everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm cool with that. Obviously, I think it's awesome. But the reason I was originally jumping in, and I'm going to have to read a little bit more about this, is the sun that they're talking about and the collision occurred between two planets orbiting a sun-like star called...
The star being NGC 2547 ID8, you mean?
Right. That lies around 1,140 light years from the Earth. So for a basic physics lesson, the reason they call it a light year is because that's the distance. That's a distance light can travel in 1 year. So
Yes.
that means that if this occurred, this collision, and they saw this dust, that means that for that image to get here would have taken 1,140 years.
Yes. No, I know that.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is the article that we got this from is a bit misleading. The collision, I'm going to read the exact sentence. The collision, which may have occurred as recently as 2 years ago, left a ring of dust and debris circling the star.
The 2 years is in quotes is a relative thing. It's not actually in quotes in the article, but that's what I'm adding quotes to it right now. Because relatively speaking, it was 2 years ago for us.
Yeah, we observed it 2 years ago, but actually, when this probably happened is, around the time Islam was getting started. Or around the time, it was about, 1,100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so crazy to think about that we're just seeing this now.
Well, I mean, that's science. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, it's really interesting because this is really the first time, despite it being 1,140 years ago, roughly, give or take 2 years, this is really the first time that we're getting a chance to study the process of, because this is a young solar system. This is a young star. The planets are still forming. They said that they're on the lookout for an even larger impact, which would be necessary in the birth of a terrestrial planet. Yeah. And so this is really the first time we're able to see this in a close to real-time process. And they're going to be studying this thing for as long as they can,
Yeah, I mean, this is how our Earth was founded, was formed.
Exactly.
What's important to understand is 1,100 years is a blip. It's an absolute blip on the cosmic history, So, I mean, in other words, this star is 35 million years old, and it still doesn't have a terrestrial planet. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if our scientists will be around when the next big collision happens.
No, we're going to have to continue observing from the next planet that we discover to get the full story here.
Yeah, and the collision might be somewhere else. It might be a different system. It might be something entirely different.
Yeah.
But this is the first step. So when these collisions happen, atoms start getting forced together and things start to change, and it's from this that we start to see single cell organisms popping up.
Yeah, and that's what you were saying offline before we got on, is that, there's life on that planet now.
Potentially, if not life, bits of life. Maybe there's RNA, maybe there's DNA, maybe there's something, But there is something, and that's kind of, what it goes back to me when thinking about this stuff is, like, this is really how it is. This is how it works. And,
Yeah. It's because of planetary impacts like that we are both sitting on our computers talking into microphones
about planetary impacts.
About planetary impacts, exactly. I mean, it's come full circle, well, sort of. But you know what I mean. It's mind blowing to think about. But that is another quote unquote potential Earth forming 1,140 light years away from us.
Yeah, and we'll never get there, at least not in our lifetime. But that would be kind of cool to go see that.
I don't know, man. I'm holding out for quantum entanglement. I think it could be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really exactly how quantum. So the backstory there is Chris and I were working on an idea for a story, and to come up with the logic or the means of traveling, we thought quantum entanglement would be an awesome way to get from one place in the galaxy to the next. Quantum entanglement, for those that don't know what it is, I suggest reading the Wikipedia article. Quantum entanglement, this is the first paragraph. Quantum entanglement is a physical phenomenon that occurs when pairs or groups of particles are generated or interact in ways such that the quantum state of each particle cannot be described independently. Instead, a quantum state may be given for the system as a whole. Now, to expand on that, quantum entanglement says that when you've got two particles that exist, they could be on opposite sides of the universe. If you change one of those particles, the other particle instantaneously changes as well, because they're entangled. So
that is just mind blowing.
Yeah, no, it really is kind of cool, and because of that, it they're thinking of using it for secure computing and data transfers at faster speeds and things like that. And what's really cool about them about this is, in essence, you are seeing changes happen instantaneously. So light, the travel of light is irrelevant. That speed is irrelevant because it just happens. So Chris and I had the idea that, well, if you could digitize everything and then boom, quantum entanglement, and boom, we could just move around the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, essentially a scientific explanation for teleportation.
Pretty much. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool to think about. And hey, I mean, science fiction is fiction now, but soon to be science.
I don't know, man. We were promised flying cars, and all we got was 140 characters.
Well, that's a nifty little soundbite. Where'd you get that one from? We also have, I don't know. If you factor in the technological advancement of the last 20 years versus, humankind in its entirety, it's been pretty exponential. So we'll see where it goes from here.
No, I know. I'm just being a jerk.
I can tell. But on the topic of exponential advancement, what are you doing in 2018? November of 2018.
Probably trying to force myself to go to the gym again.
Okay, well, I mean, I have an alternative for you. Right now, they're considering it sort of a crewless flight, but NASA is promising to launch their first rocket that is supposed to go past the moon. We are talking Mars, people. We are talking going to Mars. And yes...
Wait. You said crewless?
A crewless rocket, but in theory, this should be crewed in the future, but these are just initial tests. I think the goal right now is to get there by 2030, to have humans go to Mars by 2030.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with that, except we already send shit to Mars.
Well, we send shit to Mars, but we don't send people to Mars.
No, absolutely. But I mean, what are they? I'm confused. What do they unveil?
I mean, it's a rocket that will carry astronauts into deep space. That's what it is. It's so yeah. I mean, we do have what is it? What is the thing that's on Mars right now? The rover.
Yeah, the rover.
That's
I don't
getting information. I don't know what it's called, but the Explorer or something like that, or whatever. But anyway, so this is in theory supposed to, it is called Space Launch System (SLS), and it is the most powerful rocket ever built.
Wow.
And it's built to launch the next generation of space explorers into deep space, worlds well beyond Earth's moon. So in 2018, I mean, right now they're saying it'll be crewless, but if you want, I know a couple people, I could get you on that flight.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean,
and then you could work out and stuff up there, and it'll all be weightless.
Yeah, so I can lift 1 billion pounds and I won't feel anything.
Exactly, and it won't do anything for your core.
No, I mean, I guess it's cool because what they'll be doing is testing the rockets, so that's obviously important because you need a lot of power to get there. They'll be testing fuel, which is obviously important because you need to get back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. I guess I'm a bit of a cynic when it comes to NASA because NASA spends so much money to do things.
And this is frankly a year late.
Yeah, I bet.
They did promise this a year earlier, but they said that they had to postpone it. It was necessary to deliver a safe and affordable, sustainable means of reaching beyond our current limits and opening up new discoveries from the unique vantage point of space. That's the official quote on the article.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my money behind Elon Musk. I think he'll get us to Mars first.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But it's interesting. I mean, I guess it's good to still hear that they give a shit.
I guess we're ragging on NASA, and it's really unfair, I guess, because NASA does do great stuff. And obviously I don't want NASA to go away, and I'd rather NASA be given more money than less money. I guess my problem is...
Well, is government bogs everything down is the bottom line, I think.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is, they're gonna make it. It's gonna be too expensive. It's gonna be, like, it costs so much money to launch the shuttle and go to the space station, and then along comes this guy and he goes, "Look, it's gonna cost 1/100th of what you spend, and I'm gonna make a profit while charging you 1/100th of what you spend."
Gotta love the private sector.
And look, obviously, the private sector's got its problems, and I want NASA to do what NASA does, but my concern with this is we've done rockets into space before. We went to the moon,
Yes.
and then we
Indeed
were like,
we have.
oh, we've gone to the moon, so now let's go to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it, I guess.
I guess what makes me excited about this is, I mean, everything you're saying is 100% valid. It would be great if there was, I don't know, if it wasn't just so red tape and too overspending and all of that. But it's good to see them. I mean, to me, this sounds like they're bringing back the shuttle program.
Well, you know, what's funny is everyone says the shuttle program was bullshit.
Okay.
You know, and I can kind of understand that because, you know, once again, you know, in the 1960s, we went to the moon.
Indeed, we did.
And then the farthest we went was to a space station.
Yeah.
You know, and the shuttle program was cool. It was, you know, but it wasn't like going to the moon. Like, you go to space, that's one thing. You go to the moon, that's something different.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, definitely.
You know, so I hope this works. I really want it to work. I really want to go to Mars, you know, but we went from going to the moon to going to the space station. I want to see this happen, but I'm not holding my breath. I think Elon Musk will get us there first. And that's all I'm saying.
I think that's probably a fair thing to say, and I think you're probably right. He probably will.
And if I'm wrong, I will buy one lucky listener anything he wants.
Wow,
Within reason.
I was going to say just buy me a beer or something.
I will buy one lucky listener a present up to $1,000.
Wow, that's okay. This is being recorded, man.
Look,
I'm not sure if you know that.
Call me out on it. You know, in 2030, when NASA fails to get this rocket launched, you know, I won't have to...
Well, in 2018, they're going to launch the rocket. In 2030, they want
you know what?
On the rocket. Yeah.
All things considered, we've already launched rockets before, so I'm not really quite sure why it's taking them so long to test this. We've already done
me neither.
it.
Especially if it's uncrewed. I mean, I guess cost is definitely a big factor in it as well. But
I mean, I suppose, but we've already done it. Anyway, you know, it's sort of like me saying, yeah, but listen, it's going to cost me a lot of money to, you know, get my laptop working, even though it's working.
I guess.
You know, or...
What's interesting in this story is the rocket itself. You're right, rockets have been launched, but this SLS, the Space Launch System, is designed to get us not just to the moon, but past the moon, and to have manned craft do that. And yes, I'm sure they overspent to the moon and back, no, well, pun intended. But it's good to see that there's still a vested interest in getting us deeper into space.
Yeah, no, and it'll be cool, and at least they're doing their stuff, and that's exciting. So, you know, like I said, it's on the recording. You know, one lucky reader will get a $1,000 present of their choosing in the event that I am wrong about this.
And I am editing this, so I'm going to put my name in there where it says one lucky reader, so that I will be receiving the $1,000 present.
There we go. So, yeah, I mean, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in all, you know, no big showstoppers this week, but a lot of cool, interesting little stories. I'm very curious about that SyFy show. I think that could be a really big hit.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, I'm reading that the article about NASA and then just clicked onto something else and already found what we're going to talk about next week.
Oh, great! See, this job does itself.
Yeah, just for a little teaser, we're going to be talking about extinction.
Oh, that bums me out.
Anyway, thank you for listening to the 6th episode of FTL Radio. It's been fun recording, you know, despite how negative I sound about NASA.
Hater!
We are on iTunes and Stitcher. Please, leave us a review. You know, type a few words if you want, but leave a 5-star review, or really any review. Just, you know, I want to know what you think. Reviews definitely help. We are on Twitter and Facebook. Facebook.com/FTL Radio and Twitter.com/FTL Radio. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or anything else, send us an email, info@FTLradio.com. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Next week, Chris is going to Comic-Con down in Baltimore.
Yeah, Friday through Sunday, I'll be in Baltimore for the Comic-Con. I'm gonna go around and see if we can get some good back issues and trades, and take a bunch of pictures of cosplayers that I'll post up to the website. And
yeah, so that should be good. And
that'll be
talk
fun.
about that when you get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, thanks for listening to the 6th episode, and that's it.
And we're out.